love life. My work is therapy.
Hey everybody.
I spend a lot of time in this office, and it's therapeutic.
So
I love content.
I had one other group I wanted to introduce you to. I have cards that we actually would play in person here if you come in person. But it's related to nonviolent communication. So there's a lot of different groups you can do for NVC. In fact, I'll go to the videos here. And if you're using nonviolent communication, that's one of the things that you'll see. They include different ways of like how to say no, a mindful approach to NVC. You've got teaching nonviolent communication in the classroom. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. It is very hot. And I was introducing nonviolent communication today. So an NVC group. So can I call?
I think you showed us that video before.
Really? Not in this class though.
HB1.
Was it the toilet seat argument? No. Dang. Okay.
Or maybe it was a different one.
The toilet seat one is the funniest. That's why I was going to use it because I did a 52-week practice group in nonviolent communication. I did it with an ex-fiance, and it sounds kind of fun.
I don't mind watching it.
So, no, it is good because it's so learning nonviolent communication in the first place is challenging. You've also seen all of the removed 1, 2, and 3. That was like the group home stuff. Gosh, how's my phone that dead? That's hilarious. I got 27%. Is that what happens when you get blowed up all day?
Yeah.
So I will go ahead and charge it if I could. I watch for taking that ability away. Also, how are you doing? I heard that there was some craziness going on at this campus the other day.
Yes, it was. It was a
Were you
riot.
out there? Are you in trouble for it? That's good.
If anybody asked you, I wasn't there.
Right. I'm just curious because I'm like,
yeah.
what all happened? You know.
It was hot outside, hot mixed with black folks.
And then what do you think started it? What was the?
Well, we was all in the gym.
Okay.
We was having like a little kickback in the gym. Everybody's having fun.
Yeah.
Playing music. And then they was like, oh my God, they fighting outside. I don't know what started it, but one fight started, then another fight started, and then another fight started. It was just too much.
And it was all, somebody said it might have even been somebody from over in Wilberforce too.
Yeah. People from Wright State was there.
What?
Yep. They love Central.
And on a Thursday? They like coming just to hang out.
Yeah, because we were supposed to be having like a block party.
Because maybe at Wright State, it's 9% diverse or less, 8%, and it's easier to just like hang out and be yourself here.
Yeah, because they come to all our parties and stuff.
That's what I wondered. So they drive all the way over. I wondered, so you see the people driving through like 50 miles per hour through like campus. I'm like, what is that? Just because I know we're all in a hurry. I'm so sad you've already seen the toilet seat argument. This is a good one. You're probably right that you've seen it before. I'm sure. That is not it.
Yo. Oh, hey man, what's up?
That's weird. If I do that, will it crush?
Yes.
But isn't it bad if it needs to be updated? It's like,
You did it again.
You remember all this?
In the toilet.
All right.
You know what I mean.
Oh.
I like to have new content, so I have a hard
We
time.
can watch it
I
again,
know,
Mr. Travis.
I know. This one's kind of catching my eye though, but so I did a nonviolent communication group that was for 52 weeks in a row. It was forever, and it was over 2 years. It kind of helped. Some people would say it would make you become like more of a pushover. Some would say, well, no, it's like being mindful about how you speak. So that is some of the stuff. Like they use the stuffed animals. So that's one way of doing the group. This is the first day you guys can lead your groups. I forget which day you picked because you're like,
The 15th.
hey, is that the last day before spring break?
Is it?
I bet you it's like Wednesday.
No, it's Wednesday.
Okay. That's cool. Maybe we could zoom in on that more if helpful. Like, how can we help you prepare for your group? We have all those opened right here. Did you know which week, or you're not going to do a girls circle?
I didn't want to do it.
Okay. And you don't have to. Which one are you doing? Or are you going to make it a surprise?
I wanted to kind of do like a sex education.
Oh, that's right. You asked that. That's what you asked. Okay. And you do those in the dorm sometimes too, right? So who was telling me that? We try to have lots of access to safe stuff here. So somebody was saying that. Isn't it hot in here?
It's cooking.
Like I'm about done myself. I dressed up for long enough today.
Yeah.
Now.
Because I was saying, I'm also doing one of the papers for Beyonce's class. I'm gonna write it on like resources for sexual health among college students. Because like here at Central, like you can't even get an STI or STD testing unless you are showing symptoms, and they send you in town. But it's like no, not everyone has access to go into town. And
do they drive you there? Or how
no,
do
you have to find a way to get yourself. And it's like you guys are requiring that we have insurance. If we don't have insurance, we have to pay $815 for y'all not even to have the resources that you promote on that website. And it's like, what's the point? What's the point in having all these sex talks on campus? Okay, it's effective, but when you're not actively giving us the resources to protect ourselves and to be better about our sexual health, if y'all don't have the resources for it.
You're almost reminding me at Xavier, I had to go off campus to Burnett Avenue, Clifton, Ohio, and be tested. But all they would need is some swabs nowadays, probably.
Yeah. Or a P-test. But it's also like the closest Planned Parenthood is literally 40 minutes away. Who's driving that? No. Because if you go in town, you're going to show your insurance. If you don't have insurance, you can't get the test for free. It's just
right.
Weird. And it's like, I just feel like as a college campus, we're literally a petri dish for STIs and STDs and stuff like that. So I just feel like you have to practice what you preach. So
correct.
I'm an RA, so I'm trying to get, I'm trying to see if there's like any type of programs that can come on campus and just do a whole day of testing. Anybody that want to get tested can get tested, but it's just hard because I'm in such a new environment. Like I feel like if I was back in Milwaukee, I could easily have people and volunteers from Planned Parenthood to come up here and do testing and stuff like that, but it's just so isolated here.
It is very isolated here. That would be a challenge because I know they made us do it at Xavier, but they were also a religious campus, so I don't even remember if they were allowed to do that.
That's crazy because like my freshman year in 2018, they used to give people gift cards, like to take tests and stuff. Like
really?
And stuff. Yeah.
So what was the gift card was like a Visa card or something?
I don't really know.
Because how else would you pay for that?
Because I know they was giving out gift cards It was when I did gift cards freshman year, my freshman year, when they were to get people to take COVID tests and stuff and to get the vaccine.
And it was a Visa card?
I don't even know. I think it was
I
like
definitely
Walmart,
definitely know about the vaccine.
Walmart and stuff.
It probably had to be a Walmart card. Okay.
Kroger's.
Mhm.
I know. For some reason, they stopped the gift card stuff. Did you watch Died Suddenly yet?
Mm.
Didn't I show that one in
Well,
HBSC?
did y'all see the stuff that was that we was in here, we was looking up the stuff with the vaccine? Bruh.
I know.
Key.
If that's like for real, like we're all gonna
Yeah,
die. It's
yeah,
like
bad.
cool.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
trying to tell people, bro, it's gonna be apocalypse.
And so, like, have we had anybody pass here yet?
Mhm.
Any students? I heard we had one police chief said he saved her from cardiac arrest.
Yeah, green.
So what was that?
I don't know.
I mean, if there's no like allergy that caused your throat to swell up and your heart to stop,
I don't know.
like why are 20-year-olds having cardiac arrest? So were you guys, I know that some were able to do the exemption and some were able to like not, or just don't get the booster or do the blood cleanse.
Yeah, I didn't get a boost.
I didn't get a booster. I just got the 2
Yeah,
shots.
I got one shot because they told me in order for me to stay on campus, I gotta be vaccinated. So I said, all right, bet.
Last year or this year?
This was last semester. That's when I'm like, dude, like y'all forcing somebody to get something that they don't want. Like that's pretty messed up.
Have you seen the Tuskegee experiments? You remember that video I showed in intro?
I remember it, but I don't remember.
Those got something to do with black people.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like I remember it, but I don't remember it. And you also last Tuskegee Airman died recently.
So
See, about to see.
I'm afraid to click on that as that's from the government. I don't trust it. It's from .gov.
Right.
Like I want an actual, they had a few videos that were very well made.
I think you're supposed to put experiment. You put Tuskegee, man.
Well, here you go. This guy is usually pretty well spoken. And yeah, this could be a survivor group. It's like the family's got a compensation because they were forced to take this.
I'm Clint Smith, and this is Crash Course Black Americans. I want you to imagine that you're in the shoes of this person, being offered free medical treatment by a team of doctors that work for the U.S.
Hello.
In context, there aren't really a lot of doctors that live here, and these doctors from the government seem like people you can trust. Plus, it's free. So it seems like a really great opportunity to get health care when you might not otherwise have access to it. But what if when you went to see this team of doctors, people who you trusted, were actually, without your knowledge, made to be part of an experiment? And what if, as part of that experiment, you had medication purposefully withheld, medication that could have saved your life, but because it was kept from you, it led to years-long debilitating illness, and even the possibility of death for you, your friends, and your family.
So this started in the early 1900s. Tuskegee Airmen were dudes who flew for like the 18th Air Force Battalion. I never remember the exact details. They were told they were getting a vaccine for syphilis, something of that nature. And instead they were injected with syphilis, and then they were told they were given treatments for syphilis maybe, and they were never given anything. They were given a placebo the whole
And
time.
I think
It's like a flu game. It's like a flu shot.
I read about that in one social work and healthcare
Yes.
book, and then there was also another, not experiment, but they were basically like taking black women and giving them hysterectomies. Like if they
Oh, that's the sterilization one.
Yeah.
That came up in the 70s. This was from the 40s till the 70s. And I feel like this guy will explain it well, but the government did have to pay out. Same with the sterilization, and it's just messed up.
That's sick.
I mean, it sounds like a horror movie, but it wasn't. This was very real. It happened to very real people. Today, we're talking about the Tuskegee syphilis study. Let's start the show.
Don't these ever say how old the video is? Oh, it's a year ago. Okay. I was wondering.
So I'm gonna say I've never seen him on.
First,
I've definitely seen it.
while the study is famously
It's
called
new.
the Tuskegee syphilis study or
This
experiment,
is crash course.
some scholars,
I guess
disagree
they
with
got
that
a black person with a black history.
the people of Tuskegee, they believe, are not to blame for what happened. And some argue that the framing of it being named the Tuskegee experiment implicitly places the blame and burden on that community rather than the government.
Slow. He
Discrimination
could be.
and prejudice have long
It's
been
hard to
part
talk
of
in
the way
front of
we
people.
practice medicine in the
You know what I
United
mean?
States.
It takes a
This
lot.
isn't new. In
That's
fact,
why we have you
it
practice.
started
Lead in
in
the
the
group.
earliest days of slavery. Enslaved Black Americans were rarely treated humanely by physicians in the antebellum South. Oftentimes, they were only examined when their ability to bear children or to work was in question. And many physicians experimented with new medical treatments on enslaved Black Americans without their consent. Entire fields of study, like the field of gynecology, were built on the backs of Black Americans being exploited and experimented on by the medical system. Many physicians and scientists of this era falsely believed, sometimes consciously and sometimes unconsciously, that Black people are biologically distinct or even inferior to white people. For example, physicians and scientists in the United States incorrectly believe that syphilis, a contagious sexually transmitted disease that can also make the sexual partners of the infected individual and their children sick, affected those of European descent and African descent differently. What's more, many physicians and scientists thought that white Americans had more developed brains than Black Americans. And so even though it was apparent that white Americans could develop syphilis, it was believed that they would suffer more neurological symptoms as the disease progressed. These same physicians and scientists believed that Black Americans had less developed brains and were ruled by more basic organ functions. So they posited that Black people would suffer more cardiovascular complications rather than neurological. The Tuskegee syphilis study gave researchers and physicians the opportunity to test these deeply troubling, medically dubious, and just plain old racist theories. So in 1932, 600 African American men from Macon County, Alabama, were recruited to participate in this experiment conducted by the Public Health Service. 399 of the men were already diagnosed with syphilis, and 201 were not. So the goal of the study, essentially, was to see what happens to Black people when you don't treat syphilis. At the time the study started, penicillin wouldn't be a confirmed treatment for syphilis for over a decade.
It's an STD, like Al Capone got it and he died of going crazy. Is it attacks your brain is what they say. So you start getting like acting funny and like psychotic, and eventually, well, I think they'll explain what happens, but it can literally be treated with an antibiotic. So they found out in 45 you could just be given penicillin and it'll kill syphilis. And today they probably, if there is still syphilis around, I'm guessing there is. I think it's called the drip. You get like crap dripping out of your junk, and that's essentially what it is. So it's messed up.
So like, wouldn't it be considered a STI instead of STD?
Oh, I don't know the difference. I should know the difference. It might be an infection, yeah.
It could be an STI because you can't get rid of diseases.
I thought they were the same, but that makes sense. If a disease, okay,
But it's like if you got chlamydia, that's an STI. But if you got herpes, it's STD.
because herpes is for life.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I got like cold sores for life from that little 7th grade girl I kissed.
I can't do it.
There still recommended treatments for the disease that were withheld. And penicillin would eventually be withheld. The word unethical doesn't even begin to cover how abhorrent
It is scary.
The researchers did not test the alternative theory that white people had worse neurological symptoms than Black Americans, or even have any white participants in the
So
study.
the vaccine 2
In
years
addition
ago
to their
brought
theories,
this same.
They based their justification for the study on another study done on all white subjects called the
You mean here?
Yeah.
They said that they thought that it wouldn't attack their brains because they believed that Black people had smaller brains and that they would have more cardiovascular. They believe that the black body was different than white people's.
So
This
how do you
was-
feel like they had us? How do you feel like we had the smaller brain? If anything, they should have the smaller brain. Like, bro, what?
Sounds like they were done. This was only 90 years ago. This is not that long
That
ago.
is, bro.
And so people, when we had forced vaccinations over the past 2 years, some people were correlating to this study. That's why this came up and why they say most folks at HBCU are leery of an forced injection. You know what I mean? Like this shit already happened 90 years ago. Why are you forcing another
And
injection?
that's why a lot of black people are against getting
Vaccines, period. Which I'm kind of with you. Just saying.
Oslo study of untreated syphilis. But when this study was published, they strongly advocated for treating the subject of syphilis and warned against doing otherwise. Regardless, the researchers proceeded with the study and chose the Tuskegee Institute as the place where they would base their project. Many of the subjects were poor and uneducated sharecroppers who lived throughout rural Alabama. Many of them had never seen a doctor before, nor had they received any traditional medical care. But in this context, it might have felt to them like they were getting an extraordinary amount of treatment. The participants had to have a lot of blood tests, x-rays, and spinal taps, and a lot of tests to see how the disease impacted the population. For participating in the study, the men were offered medical care and burial insurance. And since Black Americans were hit really hard by the Great Depression, these types of incentives were extremely compelling. The Black unemployment rate in the South at that time was around 50%. And many of these men needed benefits for themselves and their families. They were also given rides to and from the study, meals on the day that they were present, and free treatment for minor illnesses and ailments. Even though the study was set up like a traditional research study with control groups and experimental groups, the subjects were never actually told that they were part of a study at all. While the men did agree.
So when we think of social work ethics, this is the number one study that comes to mind for like most of us, because all of that things they did there was unethical, is what they're saying.
To be examined and treated by the doctors, they weren't told that they were being experimented on. Essentially, the researchers never received a really important thing called informed consent. Informed consent is when a researcher tells a research subject about the study they're participating in, the risk involved, and gives them the option of whether to participate or not. Informed consent is important because it acknowledges that the participant has the agency to make their own decision for their own body. What the men were told.
We also have that in counseling and social work. So before we even see a client, they have to sign that informed consent thing. Like we don't treat people, we don't offer them our services till they're like, counseling is voluntary. You know what I mean? Like even if it's like court ordered, you still have them sign informed consent because they can be like, nope, I'd rather do prison time than see you, you know.
Was that they were receiving treatment for something called
This happened
bad
for 40 years?
Yes.
a local term
It wasn't
used
paid
to
out till
describe a number
73.
of different illnesses that resembled anemia and fatigue. What's even worse
years?
Isn't
is
that
that
messed
even the
up?
broader Black community in rural Alabama
That's
had been misled about what the public health service was doing. Many of these men were recruited by Black doctors, local pastors, teachers, and community leaders, demonstrating that
Scary.
many people thought that the men could benefit from joining. This is an important point because the study members of the Tuskegee community
That's
were
almost
led to
3
believe that
generations.
this was a special.
What's that?
That's almost 3 generations.
And they had to pay out their 3 generations of like kids and
That's
grandkids.
ridiculous.
Just like the sterilization study, not fertilization, the sterilization, when they thought if your IQ was below 70, you ain't going to reproduce. And we find that unethical today. We work with people that
Government program that will be worthwhile for themselves and the whole community. A Black nurse named Eunice Rivers, who's a very controversial figure in this incident, helps demonstrate how complicated this all was. She was one of the first Black American women to work for the United States Public Health Service.
that's 80% of the
she-
men.
Helped recruit the 600 men into the study.
There's only 800
Today,
of that.
Many scholars wrestle with whether or not she was complicit in what took place, or if she was a victim who had been misled herself. Even after penicillin was discovered as a cure for the disease, and became a standard of care
I'm
in the
allergic to that.
1940s,
Really?
most of the men were not
So I can't
treated
get syphilis.
by the study. United States Public Health Service researchers withheld medication and critical information about it from their subject. As a result, many of the men died, went blind, or experienced severe mental health issues due to the untreated syphilis.
This reminds me of the vaccine right now too. What that died suddenly is saying, if that's true, I'm hoping that died suddenly movie is all a load of BS. That like it's just fake news. Because we were all forced, unless we had a religious exemption, to get that vaccine.
Syphilis
Period.
ravaging their bodies, and many of their wives and children caught syphilis as
That's
well.
fucked up.
Eventually, a United States Public Health Service venereal disease investigator named Peter Buxton started to ask questions about why the study was happening and whether it was ethical. He leaked the information to the press in 1972,
That's when
and the resulting story prompted so much national outrage that the decades-long study was finally shut down. In the summer of 1973, an attorney named Fred Gray and the NAACP filed a class action lawsuit on behalf of the individuals who participated in the study and their families. They ended up settling more than $9 million for the study participants.
So, by the way, money was still silver in 1972. So, 9 million was a lot. It sounds like a little bit right now, but a house was $2,000 to $4,000, or maybe cars were like $500. So, just to put inflation into perspective, that's a good amount of money.
The U.S. government also promised to give the surviving victims free medical service and burial services as a form of compensation through the Tuskegee Health Benefit Program,
I thought they were
which provided medical care for the study's survivors. And in 1975, the wives, widows, and children of the participants were added to the program as well. An important outgrowth of this infamous study is the National Research Act, which was signed into law in 1974. This act was a critical force in protecting the rights of study participants and shaping research ethics in the United States. It created the National Commission for the Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research, which identified basic principles of research and ways to ensure
Is
that
that
those
where the
principles
IRB and stuff
were
come
followed.
in?
That's exactly when it got super strong. Like, we can't do a study right now without IRB
And
approval.
it's so tedious.
It's hard.
It's so tedious.
I have a few forms I filled out for my doctor.
The Commission's recommendations required researchers to always get informed consent from all of their study participants. In 1996, the Tuskegee Syphilis Study Legacy Committee was organized to develop a strategy to address the emotional damages of the study, to hold the federal government accountable for more ethical research practices, and to persuade the federal government to publicly acknowledge their role in harming this community of Black Americans. And in 1997,
Bill Clinton.
President Bill Clinton apologized publicly, stating, "It is not only in remembering that shameful past that we can make amends and repair our nation, but it is in remembering that past that we can build a better present and a better future." The United States government did something that was wrong, deeply, profoundly, morally wrong. We also want to emphasize that this is recent history. This didn't happen in like the 1700s or 1800s. This study ended in 1972. And this experiment is also one of the reasons why some Black Americans are skeptical of doctors and researchers. Many still carry the memory of this deception deep in their bones. Today, many research studies in the United States still have few, if any, Black Americans in their experiments. This is important to note because non-diverse studies are not as effective and can lead to medical mistakes in the future. Part of this is tied to the fear that Black people have about how they might be treated in these studies. But another part of it is that sometimes researchers don't adequately reach out to these communities. And one more thing, while the Tuskegee experiment absolutely does have repercussions that continue to be felt today, it is not necessarily the all-encompassing cause for all inequality in the medical system. What it is a microcosm of a larger historical trauma. And it is one of many factors, both historical and contemporary, that contribute to inequality in healthcare. This is worth saying explicitly because by putting an outsized portion of the blame on a single historical event, people can put less blame on the current systems and structures that contribute to racism and discrimination in the medical community today. As USC sociologist Karen Lincoln told NPR in 2021, if you say Tuskegee, then you don't have to acknowledge things like pharmacy deserts, things like poverty and unemployment. You can just say, that happened then, and there's nothing we can do about it. Sometimes racism in the medical and scientific community is not always as clear and blatant as it was in Tuskegee. Sometimes it's more subtle and less easy to identify, but that doesn't mean it isn't there. And it's only by naming these things directly that we will be able to build a scientific and medical system that serves everyone in our country with justice and compassion. Thanks for watching.
Does he still sound like he's
See you next
reading
time.
it?
Crash Course is made with the help of all these nice
It
people.
got better over
And our
He got
animation
better.
Yeah,
team
you
is
gotta talk a little faster.
Crash Course
But
is possible with
it's
the help of
like,
all the people who bought
okay,
the
you
2021
apologize,
Crash
and then
Course
the
Learning.
government in the 80s put crack in our black neighborhoods. So like, y'all keep apologizing for the same shit, and keep
Mm-hmm.
targeting and oppressing black.
They put it in the neighborhood and then made it illegal.
And so if you took the exemption to not get the vaccine, I don't blame you. Like I would not take any forced vaccination. Like when else in our lifetime have we had forced vaccinations? Have you guys ever heard of that? Do we have to get them to go to college in the first place? I know they want.
I think you have to get them to go to public school.
I know they want a list, but you can also, Ohio State allows you a exemption form for religious.
No, it's like everywhere else, you gotta have it, but like you don't gotta have the boosters. Like if you want the boosters, you could just get it if you want to. If you don't want to, like it's fine. Like you gotta be some type of vaccinated. Like even here, like they wouldn't let you come back unless you had your first shot.
That's messed up. It seems to me like there is a link to some money that came through somehow by doing that. Like, why would you force it?
Yeah, you know, sister don't tell nobody nothing.
Well, why would you force it like that if there wasn't some monetary, or they couldn't keep their doors open in the first place, or they didn't get 100,000 to test every single day, or you know, what's that?
I feel like they was getting paid to do that.
So
For a minute, we couldn't come back to school, like they'll turn you around and have your vaccination card and show it.
Oh, really?
They
And
were in
that's-
public school, so they probably got more money.
and that's the COVID vaccine in
Central got
specific.
so much cheese from the state, bro. It don't make no sense.
Well,
Man.
there was what scared me was in the January of 2021. I saw $500,000 of brand new white cars parked all up and down.
I'm trying to tell people that, bro. Like,
Where did
Central,
They all had the
raised
temporary tags, so you know they're brand new. They all
Yeah.
had temporary tags. I'm like, where did $500,000?
Ooh, ooh.
No, they be getting like a lot of money.
We got what's called it?
Their shit.
Magic Johnson donated $1 million. He donated $1 million like in 2021.
Like,
Did you guys see the Mike Tyson honorary doctorate speech? That was in '89.
Oh, I did see this.
You did? Did I show you this in the last HBSE
Yeah.
class? Do the entire thing, or
You only showed me one part.
was it kicks me off here if I do? It says, yeah, I didn't get them when Central said we had to get the COVID vaccine. So you can do religious exemption. And like I said, I would do it all day long because these dudes are saying something happened that made it weird. And I know I can't show
25% of adults over 65 have lost all their teeth from receding gums and decaying
I
teeth.
just got my teeth
All it
worked
take-
on yesterday.
I ain't
My
gonna-
teeth are always dark colored from all the coffee that I drink, and I don't care.
Yeah, I got the Moderna.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
So what are the
Let me
options?
see what I have. The Johnson Johnson, which was
Yeah, Johnson don't get that. Everybody, mine.
I got the Pfizer.
Blood
I got
clots?
Pfizer.
And then you didn't have
I'm
any.
about to say
Like,
certain ones like for females though, because I got one that was strictly for males. It was
Really?
it's one that's strictly for females. There's one that's like strictly for males.
that's scary.
Well,
They can't take it.
I never heard of that.
Bro, I should look it up.
But I did my research before I got it because I'm glad I got Pfizer. Because see, my Pfizer is the one with like people wasn't like, nothing was happening. People who had fires, like literally, it's just people
Yeah,
got
one of them inside.
Moderna was it was okay too. It's just
Some people mixed them up,
I
right?
was the Moderna. I take the little arm pain and keep pushing.
Right, and it hurt it so bad. And I don't even mind shots and stuff like that. Shit hurt it.
my arm was so bad.
Molly hurt the next day.
And mother hurt that day, next day.
That is kind of scary though. It's like,
I woke up, oh, shoulder sore.
yeah. So if you do you remember some of the stuff in here though? Basically, it was the clots that they pulled out of people.
Yeah.
It was like,
You ain't putting that up.
what's that?
You not putting
They
that
was
up.
dead.
Like that.
Right. Well, yeah, they were trying to embalm them, and that's kind of what they had gotten. So I'm hoping that this is fiction. Like people said, it's a paranoid.
Remember the other day we was watching that cocaine video, or no, the heroin video.
Yes.
My boy Jay went back to Cincinnati like last weekend just passed.
Yeah.
And he was driving through, and it was this dude standing in the middle of the street just sleeping.
Are you serious?
Like I'm trying to find a video because I don't know which made me think about
He
it.
sent you a video. It was like late at night.
Like,
Was he in
sent me
Over
a
the
video,
Rhine?
Like, so this is what I'm talking about, huh? I'm
What-
like, dude.
Was he in Over the Rhine or was he in downtown somewhere?
I don't know. Dude standing there dead smack in the middle of the street, just sleep. Like just standing there with his head down, sleep, bro.
And I don't know if y'all saw because I was on YouTube Live, bro. I was watching the video. But I was watching like this TikTok video and it was like this girl and she was complaining. She was like,
Look like it's downtown.
why is it was a black girl and she had went to the bathroom and I guess she was in there for a while. And she was like, why are y'all coming in here? And I guess like one of the Starbucks workers like knocked on the door and was like, hey, are you okay? Yada yada yada. And she was like, why are they coming to check on me in the bathroom? I could be in here, I'm a paying customer, yada yada yada. But she was thinking it's like, oh, because I'm black, I can't be in the bathroom for however long. And there were Starbucks employees like in the comments, and they were saying like people overdose in their bathroom so much that if a customer is in the bathroom for X amount of time, they have to go check on them.
It's a new policy.
Mhm.
Holy
And like
crap.
my mom, she works at the library. She works in one of like the big libraries downtown in Milwaukee, and like a lot of homeless people come in there because it's warm and it's a big building, so they'll come in there. She's like, a lot of people overdose in our bathrooms too. It's really sad.
That is very sad.
Definitely sad for sure.
This was the part I don't know if YouTube will kick me off for it, but like these are just like the random films they found of people. Remember when we were
Yeah, we watching it here.
like, what the heck? I guess that's in India because we don't have buses like that. We have some in Nicaragua like that. Like, what the? Are these?
It's mad.
Is this video fake? Is this movie like?
A 20-year-old nursing student died of cardiac arrest 1 day after getting the mandatory.
The 16-year-old had a cardiac arrhythmia.
School cheerleader
Oh!
died suddenly.
Conclusions over the death of a woman from blood clots after
She did.
receiving the
The
COVID
Queensland man is in
vaccine.
intensive care tonight, suffering a blood clot after receiving his AstraZeneca vaccine. A local man suffered blood clots as a result of a blockage in an artery, with medical experts confirming the death of the Central Coast woman is likely
If you mix them
linked
up,
to
they
the
say
clot.
it's like both Pfizer and Moderna.
See, that's what I'm talking
Would you get both of them?
Because-
Arm?
Because they told you could.
Fuck out of here.
I wouldn't do that.
And Donald Trump the same one telling you can drink bleach or something.
Right.
Maybe
Right.
I don't know, but I only got 5. I got that little booster and that's it. That's
Right.
what I stopped right
Government
there.
at all.
And so it was just the pain for like the one day. And
I don't trust the government. Because you know what? All right, so the reason why I don't trust this stuff, like, I'm not going to say it because I know you see, like, your uncle or somebody passed with COVID and stuff. So I'm not going to say it's not real. But it's been times that I know for a fact I should have caught it and I didn't. Because one time I'm living in a house with my family, my brother and them, smoking with my brother.
It's okay. I
He tested positive.
you're like, you guys.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, so I'm not getting nothing.
Right.
He tested positive. I'm like, all right, how gonna get tested?
Right.
Negative. I said, okay,
I'm
bet.
thinking it's immune system too. though.
That's what I'm saying. That's
My
what
whole
I'm
house
thinking
had
it
it
is.
and I didn't get it.
Bro,
Right.
it was literally just me and Dukes.
my
The
entire
whole house.
Yeah.
That
My
is
entire
crazy.
house had it. My mom, my dad, my sister had it, and I did not have anything. But I do be in my room all the time, and my room is separate from it. Like my
Yeah, I
house,
live in a basement.
I'm in
my
the
house
living room every
is
day.
big, so my room is like right here, and they room right here. So
Mhm.
like really, we be social distancing on accident. So I don't even go out the room. So that's why I didn't get it. But
And I really get sick. I really get sick. I used to get sick as a kid a lot, so my immune system
Mhm.
is very strong.
But I know what you're saying.
I don't get sick at all, for real, for real.
'Cause I
So-
definitely should've got
That's
it.
one thing, God bless me, with I do not get sick, bro.
So you're noticing,
Literally once a year.
Yeah, because the thing is,
And
I
that's
thought
only
I
when
had
I'm
it
out
because I'm
here.
smoking with you, bro.
It's only when I'm out here.
Bro,
because
I thought I was the only one.
Because
I do not get sick in Cleveland,
I'm
bro.
not used to the weather out here. I'm
Okay.
from the Great Lakes.
We know you in the mountains and shit.
right.
I'm not in the mountains. That's Minnesota.
Well, so on Friday, I know you can start leading a group today if you want to, and it's
Okay,
March,
how
it's
long?
March.
How long is like?
Just go 12 to 15. And I know it's pushing, but again, it's like practicing to talk and sit in front of people. When I first started teaching, I hated. I was like, I'm going to teach online my whole life. But then I realized how much paperwork teaching online is. Have you noticed that about online classes? There's like 10 times the amount of discussions and papers
Yeah,
and
sometimes it's just confusing to. I feel like sometimes it's
Especially
easier
on camera.
online, because I get my best grades online. I'm just
Right.
honest.
Right.
Just being honest. But I feel like sometimes I understand more when I'm like sitting there talking. Like
I can't do it.
realistically, for real, 9 times out of 10 online, I don't know what you're talking
So
Okay.
like if I look at like the girl circle thing and look at like the key points
Mhm.
of the like I just wanted to see like could I use that
Yes.
as like an example for structure of
Yes.
how the group should go? Okay.
Yes, you can absolutely use any piece of the group, and that's what this week is about: is creativity in group. So like you're going to be making your own stuff. I'm not very creative, so I'm cheap, and I go look at Girl Circle and I lead the way it says to lead. Some people are very creative and they make amazing groups off the top of their head, and they sell their manual for $10,000, like how to lead a recovery group, how to lead an addictions group, how to lead an adolescent girls group or a boys circle.
But it's like I want it to be I want to make it so that it's an effective group.
Right.
Like if it's only the 3 of us here and it's 9 people in this class, like how am I supposed to like effectively do the group knowing I'm not gonna know how many people's gonna come to class?
about. No, that's real.
Like-
Because it's only 3, like.
I don't want my grades to suffer because
No,
you don't
you-
want to come
No, we gonna
participate.
be
Nope.
cool. We gonna be cool.
That's what I
No, you just lead the group as if
That's what I'm
it's
saying.
Dr. Trout, that was my question too. Like, 'cause
yes.
I'm not
I
gonna
was
lie.
talking my question.
I didn't understand how to do it until was that you? It was somebody who like explained to me how it went like after class. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But then I'm like, how we gonna do the group thing?
If there's only
There's
3 of
9
us.
people in here.
Well, so during COVID, we had to just film it electronically, and you lead the group to an imaginary audience. It is better when you have participants, but yes, when you're practicing, we have an imaginary audience. In real life practice, guess what the minimum number to be considered a group is?
30.
2, 3.
It was always 3. You could do it with 2, but here's why they did it. You only got $33 per person when you let a group of 2. And if you do individual counseling, they get like $100 an hour.
Well, I mean, I guess it would be easy.
Yeah.
So if you get good at it, you guys know like Dr. Carmela Daniels and stuff. Have you heard of her? Dude, she was about to teach here, but
What's called it? So question. So like pick a week. We pick like an actual day because I don't know what day. I just know I want to go like second to last.
Yeah.
right, I understand that.
Well, I'm going
So
on the 15th of March.
sounds like she's breaking.
Alright.
Friends and family got the vaccine, all got COVID after doing it twice. So yeah, during COVID, we had to have people film it, which really sucked. But you would just like film it in your dorm. I think it's better to do it here in person. And there will be people online, so you can present. If it's today, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Minimum group is 3.
So, all right, for the groups, because I'm still trying to observe a group. I couldn't find a website. I was looking on my laptop, I could not find a website.
So this is how I always do it. Go like this.
Cause I was looking up like groups, like I was actually typing in groups.
I like the group.
So here you go. And that just has online intergroup of AA. And a lot of times they list it right today, the next meeting. Like it's smart. You just click on it, you observe it, and you're good.
I mean, they giving me numbers.
Exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I could do it, I just don't get that.
I'm doing sex education.
I would want
But
to
mine's
do
not
something.
even sex education. I just feel like it's gonna be more like a conversation about sexual.
That's a good one.
Mine
Yes.
Mine would be more so like depression or something.
Ooh.
Because I feel that.
So that link didn't work. It wasn't a good example, but you should be able to, how do I find a Zoom meeting of AA? And a lot of people will just be like, go in here. How did you guys find them? How hard was it to click through? And
I tried to.
There it is.
I just went on AA, like, .org, and I looked up the meetings and stuff like that, and that's how I found it.
Cleveland.
For
Didn't you say you're from Cleveland?
Yeah.
You could even join by phone, but there's Thursday and then this like rolling group. So if you wanted to find one for
Yeah, it's
Wednesday,
like one every hour.
there really is.
Yeah,
It's crazy. So you can get it done
So people
quickly.
sit in them all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people like
I
if
don't know
you're
about that.
hooked on heroin, you just
No,
have to
I was
watch
saying,
one.
Like, some
Yeah.
people sit in different meetings all day.
If you're hooked on heroin, it might not be a bad idea, but you guys just have to watch one and fill out the paper.
Yeah.
Second major assignment is leading a group.
Like,
He's like, you're off of them pills now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Tell him about the video we watched. Don't get hooked on pain pills, dude.
Nah, I had to let him go. I told him.
Okay. Good.
Don't tell me something.
How y'all
Tio.
doing?
Tio is there.
I ain't seen you in a minute, Bestie. How's James going?
I'm good. I'm good. He's being very bad. Here's what he did today. Ready? You guys ready for all this? Fucking pissed. James wake up and Isabel starts saying, go to school to him. And he gets pissed off and starts screaming and crying. Upset the fucking baby up. That's what James did.
She's having a bad.
I know. I know.